The Pittsburgh Steelers are entering Week 13 with one big goal: win. After taking control of the AFC North early in the season, the Steelers have lost 4 of their past 6 games to cede the top spot in their division to the Baltimore Ravens. However, after the Ravens lost to the Cincinnati Bengals on Thanksgiving Day, Pittsburgh could move back to the top of the AFC North with a win on Sunday. The problem for the Steelers is that they have drawn a tough matchup against the Buffalo Bills. The good news, though, is that Pittsburgh is set to get several key players back from injury for this game. One of them is star pass rusher Alex Highsmith, who recently made it clear he's ready to get back on the field for his team. Alex Highsmith looking to wreak havoc versus Bills in Week 13. In Week 12, the Steelers were pretty short-handed thanks to a slew of injuries, and while they battled hard against the Chicago Bears, they still suffered a 31-28 loss when all was said and done. At this stage of the season, every game is important, especially when considering where Pittsburgh was just a few weeks ago, compared to where they are now. Highsmith was among the group of players who missed the Steelers' latest game, as he's been dealing with a pectoral injury. It's been a struggle for Highsmith to stay on the field this season, as he's suited up in just 7 games, but when he's played, he's been as impactful as ever, as he has 24 tackles and 5.5 sacks during that time. All week long, Highsmith had been trending in the right direction when it came to his injury status, and sure enough, he will enter this contest without an injury designation. When discussing his various injury woes this year, Highsmith revealed that while it has been tough on him, he's looking forward to getting back on the field and dominating like he usually does. It's frustrating, Highsmith admitted when discussing his injury woes this season. Really just trying to dominate what I can control. Dominate being the best teammate, dominate rehab every single day, so I think that's just really where it starts for me. Steelers desperately need to beat Bills on Sunday. Getting Highsmith back is huge because Pittsburgh's defense hasn't been particularly good this season. In order to beat Buffalo, Highsmith and TJ Watt are going to have to lead their team when it comes to getting pressure on quarterback Josh Allen. The Steelers have been at their best this season when they are forcing turnovers, and the easiest way to do that is by making life difficult for the opposing quarterback. In addition to Highsmith, Pittsburgh will also have its own quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, at its disposal for this game. The Steelers are certainly favored in the health department heading into this one, but as long as Allen is on the field for the Bills, they will have a shot to come out on top. Kickoff for this very important matchup is scheduled for 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday afternoon. The Pittsburgh Steelers are reaching a potential inflection point when it comes to Asante Samuel Jr. The 26-year-old signed to the Steelers practice squad on November 11th, though he has yet to be elevated or join their active roster. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Ray Fittipaldo noted that Samuel's time could be coming soon given that the team's dealing with some injuries at corner, but other organizations may be lurking in an attempt to add some experienced depth in their secondaries as the postseason push kicks into full gear. Samuel is interesting because they're banged up at quarterback, Fittipaldo said during an appearance on 93.7 The Fan. They could probably use another body back there with Joey Porter Jr. going down last week. The other reason Samuel is interesting too is I'm sure he wants to play, and he's only on the practice squad, and we all know there were like 10 teams interested in him a couple weeks ago. Any of those teams can swoop in and sign him to their 53-man roster. Samuel's time in Pittsburgh. Samuel hit free agency back in March as one of the top corners on the market, but he remained available for much longer than initially expected due to injury. He appeared in just 4 games for the Los Angeles Chargers in 2024 with what had been described as a shoulder injury, though he ultimately underwent spinal fusion surgery during the offseason, which was completed by Steelers neurosurgeon Daniel Okonkwo. Samuel drew a ton of interest from playoff contenders around the league upon being cleared to play earlier this month, and he landed with Pittsburgh ahead of its Week 11 game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Will Samuel get his chance with Steelers? The Steelers' defense has been leaky all year long, as the unit is allowing the most passing yards per game of any team in the league at 258.7 despite having a roster chock full of veterans. Pittsburgh's secondary has dealt with a long list of injuries this season, though the quartet of Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay Jr., Brandon Eccles, and James Pierre is set to suit up versus the Buffalo Bills in Week 13. Porter left the team's Week 12 loss to the Chicago Bears with a hip flexor injury. However, while Slay suffered a concussion against the Chargers in Week 10 and thus sat out versus the Bengals in Week 11, so there are some recent ailments to keep an eye on regardless of the fact that both players will be available this weekend. Samuel established himself as a solid starting boundary corner with the Chargers after they selected him in the second round of the 2021 NFL Draft with 37 passes defended and 6 interceptions in 50 games, but he hasn't played since Week 4 of the 2024 campaign. Though the Steelers may understandably be a bit hesitant to throw him out there, they may be forced to do so if they want to retain Samuel for the stretch run. The organization would have the opportunity to add him to their 53-man roster if another team were to attempt to poach him from Pittsburgh's practice squad, and that possibility will continue to loom large. The Buffalo Bills are coming off a mini-bye week after suffering a Week 12 Thursday night loss to the Houston Texans, sending them to 7-4 on the season, which caused them to tumble to the number 7 seed in the AFC playoff picture after the Jacksonville Jaguars defeated the Arizona Cardinals. The Bills need a win to keep pace with the New England Patriots in the AFC East, who hold a 3-game lead in the division, and they'll be heading to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers without multiple key contributors. Left tackle Dion Dawkins and right tackle Spencer Brown are both out for Week 13. Facing a pass rusher like TJ, but with a pair of backup tackles, is not ideal, to say the least. However, the Bills can take advantage of one glaring weakness with the Steelers' run defense. Per Next Gen Stats, the Steelers rank 24th in EPA per rush on defense, and Pittsburgh is allowing north of 100 rushing yards per game. This is where the Bills need to lean on James Cook. Since James Cook entered the league in 2022, the Bills are 12-2 when he rushes for 100-plus yards. Considering both tackles are down, combined with Josh Allen dealing with an elbow injury, this is also the perfect way to keep Watt and Nick Herbig off of Allen. The best way to take a pass rush out of a game is by being able to lean on a good run game. The Bills shouldn't put everything on the plate of the defending MVP in Week 13. Ride James Cook against a bad run defense, and let Buffalo's ground game be what gets them to 8-4 against a team that, frankly, doesn't pose much of a threat.